Welcome back to another episode. Another episode on Uncle B and Fee. We come in to you again every Tuesday, 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. And on this podcast, we talk about all the relationship and dating topics that your mama and daddy and any of the older family members could tell you about. Because we're dealing with something new out here in these streets in the 21st century. So, without further ado, let me at least introduce the topic real quick. Do women feel entitled?
Oh, Jesus. There was a movement.
Okay, stay tuned to find out. Hey, y'all. Thanks again for tuning in. So, before we go ahead and jump into this topic, first thing we want y'all to do is, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, the notification bell, and leave some comments. Y'all know how it goes. So anyway, let's get straight into it. Now, do women feel entitled? All right. So Uncle B and I conducted a little poll because we wanted to find out what other men thought or felt about women. Modern day women, as everyone likes to say now all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So Uncle B and I, we got this list we compiled, and I'm gonna just read all these points real quick, and then we're gonna start talking about it.
Yes.
All right, so we got one guy said that women require that a man pay. He feels that they're entitled to like 4 to 7 dates, and the man has to pay 100% before she can even decide whether she really wants to date him for real. Now, this answer kind of overlaps with some of the other guys who said that, sometimes women just want a guy to take them out for a free meal. I think everybody done heard that by now. So he said, well, why do I got to pay 100% for 4 to 7 dates? So that's one. Another one is, one guy said that he believes that at least 70% of women are always asking for things. And I was like, well, how does that make them entitled? So he says, the fact that you have the audacity to ask for it means you think you can actually get it. So he feels like women feel entitled to ask men for things that they may or may not deserve. Another guy, okay, forget it. I'm not even going to say another guy because some of these answers, some people said the same.
Okay, we all know.
Point, I heard that a man should pay all the bills. So one guy says the man he should be paying all the bills. So like if a woman and a man together in their apartment or a house or whatever, if they are a couple, she believes that he should pay for everything. Oops, snatching my ears off.
I literally just heard this conversation in the barbershop today.
Really?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I'm sure you got something to say about that one.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So a man paying all the bills. That's another one. Another one is that they all just want men to pay for meals, drugs, and alcohol. That actually that follows the first one.
All about this food up in these camps, up in the streets.
And by meals, drugs, and alcohol, okay, so we know what the alcohol is, but the drugs is like weed, stuff like that, really.
Right.
One guy said that he feels like, I don't know that this necessarily qualifies, but I'll just state it anyway. He feels that women are self-centered, selfish, and inconsiderate.
Yep.
That was just a point. I don't know if that's really entitled or not. I don't need a man, so if you step into me, come correct. Okay, so that was one guy's opinion of the entitlement thing. And so when I asked him to clarify that, he basically said that, why is it that I have to have all of this extra stuff for you to even talk to me when you don't even have the same amount of stuff or we're at the same level? So that's what he meant by that one. He felt like a woman feels like you need to be at a certain level, even if she ain't there. The other one is if she feels like she's on a high level. Oh, that was just a second point to the first one. If she feels like she's on a high level and she doesn't even want to acknowledge the guy. So he said that he's been in situations, a lot of his boys and family members, they've been in situations where they're walking down the street, yada, yada, yada. You see the girl, hey, how you doing? And she just like, you make 6 figures? Do you got a car? A Bentley or whatever. So that was the other one. One guy says that, now this one was a very specific one, but one guy said that his girl at the time had the audacity to tell him that he wasn't cool. I don't know. I think I should just scratch this one out because this one's too complex. I would have to give the story behind it. Get that one.
Okay.
All right. The next point is men can give everything and it still ain't enough. The next point is it is baked into society that most women don't even see it. They need to open the door. Men need to open the door. So this is a point about men doing all of those deeds that women are used to, like, open a door, pull out the chair, blah, blah. Now, actually, a couple of guys did say that, and I have something to say about that one too. Because I'm like, I don't know that that's 100% like straight entitlement. But anyway, we're going to talk about all that. And the last one, men don't get credit for anything, but they get all the blame for everything, while every woman is a queen with no subjects. Oh, this sounds like an angry person here. Wonder who said that.
Hey, is it angry or is it factual? How many queens we got and how many subjects do we have? We have 0 queens with 0 subjects.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying nothing about that. Okay. That's whoever's opinion. But I'm just saying, like, men don't get credit and women and then they get blamed for everything.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it though. Let's talk about all of this stuff. So we got so many places to go with this one.
Okay. Well, yeah. So let's break down some facts and figures, that will sort of illuminate some aspects of this. So, because a lot of this deals with money, and so you'll hear a lot of women say, "I don't want a broke man." The issue is that the average man in this country makes roughly $45,000. If you're a white man, it's roughly $50,000. Black man, roughly $41,000. The average black woman makes $31,000. So there are more broker black women.
Where are these numbers at?
Statistics, black statistics, for us and about us. And also, you hear that black women are most educated. They're the most in school, the most enrolled. But the education still comes out in the humanities and things that don't end up paying a lot. So you have well-degreed teachers. So, some teachers can make, some pretty good money, but the vast majority are not. And they're not, we're not talking about upper 6 figures or anything like that. And so, and in terms of like businesses, men typically have like a good 10% of businesses, while women we're talking about businesses that you're actually the boss, like you have employees, you have payroll. That's roughly 4%. So we're hearing that, women are here and men are here when the numbers are like, nah, it's more like this. And so when we're talking about entitlement, we're talking about things that happened in the past that's, still carries over, but women are like, well, I have money now. So you have 2 things going on at the same time. I'm holding on to the past and I'm taking advantage of the past and the future and what's going on right now. So you have traditional things, like you hear women say, I'm traditional but modern. It's like, you're a confusing liar. You're confusing us.
Wow,
because
that's extra.
I mean, but it's like
liar.
Yeah, because it's like, which one do you want? If you want old school, then it's like, well, yeah, old school back in the day before 1971. At 1971, only 2% of women were in college. Now, depending on where you go, over 50% of women are enrolled in college. So, or college enrollment, you know what I mean? So, we're talking about something that's happened over a slow period of time, roughly 1% per year to where we are now. So you have women who are like, I'm still holding on to those things that happened before then. Like, I need for the man to open the door, pay for dates, pay for the bills, pay for this, pay for that. But now I have my own money and I don't need you. So you have these 2 things going on at the same time. So you end up with women who are like, well, okay. And I've experienced this myself. There was some younger women who were coming to a restaurant and it was like, oh, I went to just open the door And the way they were so glib about me opening the door, it's like I was their servant. So you have some women who think that men are supposed to be their servant when it comes to like opening doors and pulling out chairs and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's like taking advantage of a situation. And so that also comes around when we talk about the number of guys that talk about the meals and, spending money during dating, the courting process. Whereas like a lot of women think that, okay, this is traditional. It's not traditional. It has never been traditional that you take a woman to a bar. That this is all new stuff. Back in the day, we're talking about back in the day, like the 50s, your mama's generation, the people who were further out in the farms, things like that. It was like if you were trying to court a woman, you went over to her parents' house, you sat on the front porch with her on the swing while grandmother was sitting by the window just listening. So it was a completely different thought process. Now we're over here to like, well, okay, well, man's taking me out. Well, he should be paying for it. Why? Well, because he makes more money. That's not. Is that true in all situations now? No, because you hear a lot of women say, "I could do bad all by myself." Okay.
I want you to like finish your point, but okay. I just want to throw this out there.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
I want to say that there is something, because you said this before, and I feel like there is a reason for all of this that really explains all of this, everything that you're saying. But continue.
I think I've heard your explanation of but yeah. But I mean, what it is that, two things. One, we're now at a point where men are able to vocalize this. Before it was women had the platform. They had TV where everybody was trying to, talk to the women, sell to women. So anything that was said on TV was in support of women. And so it's just now within the past maybe 2 to 3 years. It was before then. It was called the MGTOW movement, men going their own way, who were saying, hey, this is wrong from a legal standpoint, from a moral standpoint, from just being a human standpoint. And now it's progressed. So now it's less in the shadows of God just being mad. You have more guys who are like, hey, ladies, we want to point this out because this is not working. Being like, hey, I'm better than you, but I need for you to take care of me is not an equation that makes any sense. So,
well, let me say this. I understand, because I have heard this. I wouldn't say argument per se, but I have heard this from many men. And I do understand it from a logical perspective. I understand it. Women have rights. Women are starting to make more money. And we're also saying, I make money and I'm independent, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, well, how come we're not just being equal then? Why are you still you wanting to continue on with the old tradition if you're embracing this new one? Like, where do I belong in that? And I understand that from a logical standpoint. But one thing that I think that men often seem to forget. Oh, so now you're just gonna bow out now. You just
I'm done with this. Go ahead. You got it.
I think that one thing that men tend to forget, or maybe they're not even really necessarily aware of or thinking this way, but you have to understand something. A lot of households are filled with mostly women. So there's a lot of there's grandmothers, you have the mothers, aunts, cousins. Like, women are usually vocal in general about everything. Like, normally if you go into a household where you see men and women both, the women are the ones running their mouths for the most part. I mean, the men, they may run their mouth about something like, sports or news or whatever they do. But women tend to just keep it going forever. Mm-hmm. That's just what we do. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that is something that needs to be, I think, included or considered is that there's little girls that are present during those conversations a lot of times. And even when they're not present for the conversation, they are still in the energy of women who probably came from those traditional households where the man brought home the bacon and then she fried it up. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times what's not spoken on is the fact that women oftentimes in those households I'm not going to say that they weren't happy at all, but I think that people don't always consider the fact that some women sometimes women will express to their friends or to their family members, the other women in the family, not to the man, but they would express to the other women in their family that they wish that they would have been able to do the things that we're able to do now. I've actually even heard this from older women. They're like, if I was your age, right? Like if things were the way they are for you when I was your age, I would have did this, I would have did that. Da, 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 da. It's almost like they had goals and dreams and ideas and all this other stuff, but they had to suppress themselves for the sake of the family because that was the norm. So if she were to speak out and be like, I want to do this and I want to do that, and that would not have been accepted because that was not a part of the norm. So she could have been ousted in her community for being such a rebel. So a lot of times those women kept it to themselves, and they may have just mentioned it to, like I said, the other women folk in the family. So what ends up happening is now you got a little girl coming along during, we'll just say this, the third feminist wave or the fourth wave, whatever this one is. Now you got the little girl coming along, and the parents are like, hey, listen, don't be like me. They may not be saying it like the mother, the aunts, whoever, or the grandmothers. They may not necessarily say it in those words, but in so many words, they're conveying a message to young girls. Don't be like me. You have an opportunity to be more, to do more. And, I know that I'm about to be bringing up something you about to roll your eyes on, but this is still a part of the reality. And I even hear Kevin Samuels talk about this, the whole thing with women getting beat or whatever. I mean, that was also something that was more accepted. Now, I'm not saying that everybody was in their households getting beat. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it was a lot more or less accepted that a woman spoke back to her man. So you have households where if she did speak back and he happened to slap her around, it was kind of like, just keep that in the house. Like, don't take that out. Right. It could possibly happen. Maybe not, but still keep your mouth shut. If he gets real angry and blows up on you, but not hit you, but just verbally assaults you, keep your mouth shut. It stays within the confines of this house. Those women are still wearing those wounds, and they are passing that on to these little girls. So even though, and I've heard guys argue this before, that, yeah, but women are sitting here trying to act like I don't have to do this and do that. And they wasn't even born during that time, so they didn't even experience that. But they're experiencing it through the energy of the women in their family. So the women essentially put that on these women, and now society is telling us we're wrong because we were raised to believe something or to be a certain way.
And I've heard you say this before, and I understand that. So the question, though, is what's the solution in terms of what happens next? Because what is happening, once again, right now isn't working. So it's like, as far as, what guys, it's sort of like there was an abusive situation, whatever it was, an abusive thought process, an abusive social construct. And it's like, okay, now we're pointing it out to women. The issue is that women are now saying, oh no, never mind, doesn't matter, skip the background, whatever, you still have to function this way. And it's like, well, what are we going to do? Because right now, guys are feeling abused. It's an uncommon way to look at it. But, if someone is willingly taking advantage of you because society says it is okay to take advantage of someone, then you're taking advantage of it. That's just the way it is. So it isn't like, well, okay, you have to look at, what happened in my background and my past and everything like that, because everybody could use that. Guys could be like, well, in my background, my father, he used to slap around mommy, and therefore I should be able to slap you around. You can't do that. You have to change. And the issue is that there hasn't been work towards, until now, there hasn't been the conversation about women changing. And you hear it is so, when I say it's baked into society, that whole thing about opening a door, pulling out a chair, if a woman is being attacked, the man is supposed to go protect her. If, all of these different things, if you go out on a date, the man's supposed to pay for it. If you get into a fight with a woman, the woman should be able to hit the man 2-3 times, before he does anything. There are all these things that are inside of women's heads. Oh, you cannot tell a woman what to wear. You cannot tell her what to do. You cannot tell her where to go. You can't tell her not to do this. You cannot tell her to do this. You can't tell her anything. It's to the point that in different places, you have rules set up where you can't open the door for a woman because that's looked at as sexist. You can't call across the street like, hey, how else am I going to be able to meet you? You're over there, I'm over there, you looking good. Like, hey, baby, hey. And it's like, oh no, arrest him. He's catcalling. It's like, how are we going to be able to communicate? How are we going? So it's like right now, we need women to look at this, realize like, hey, something's wrong, and start verbalizing it along with us to say, hey, this isn't going to work. Because guys, whenever we talk about a hermit, you imagine, some guy with a whole bunch of hair and living off somewhere in the woods with a dog. Well, you're always picturing a man. You're not picturing a woman being by herself. Women aren't designed to be by themselves. So now guys are like, skip it. Men going their own way isn't men being gay. Isn't men being super hatred. Is men being like, yo, I can't, this is too frustrating. I can't, how am I going to go out on a date with a woman who's like, as soon as anything's wrong, her list is like, I have a list of 300 things and he better meet every one of these things. And he has a list of like 3 things. Just be nice, smile, maybe. And if you can't get those basic things into, a relationship, then it's not going to work. And guys are just going to be like, I'm good. Just give me my Pornhub subscription. Give me my group pump.
Oh, that was free.
It goes both ways. And they got the it's like I can get the Grubhub, and I got my remote control. My entertainment's done.
Well, you know what? Okay, so let's get back to, I'm gonna go back to what you said first when you said, what's the solution? Mm-hmm. The solution is happening right now. I just think that we don't see it because we old. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I feel like people who are within a certain age group just so happen to be born into society at a time where I'm going to just say anybody who was born before 1980 was born at a time where you were being taught the old way. I call that the old guard or whatever. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the traditional way. Mm-hmm. Because we didn't have the new way yet. The new way had not settled in. So the 1980s is really when you started to see women starting to enter the workforce and become these independent women, right? Mm-hmm. So prior to that, women were still learning all the traditional stuff because there was nothing new to learn yet.
Right.
So now we are the women who were, let's say, women that were born in the 70s. Let's just say the 70s. Women who were born in the 70s are now fully grown women today in 2021. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like for years, because this transition has been coming, you could see that the transition happening over time, ever since I would say almost the beginning of like right after Y2K, you could see the transition slowly starting to change over. Mm-hmm. Of course, with every passing year, it's more and more, it's getting stronger that we're getting closer to this equality thing. And I feel like, no. When I say that, I mean, we're getting closer to every year, every passing year has gotten closer to where women are more vocal in terms of like women are owning businesses, women are getting high powered jobs, or women are demanding things. Like with every passing year, women are becoming more powerful. That's what I mean. Like their own right. I'm not saying that women are that. I don't even know what you were thinking I'm saying, honestly. I'm just saying, with every passing year, women are increasingly more
masculine.
Okay, we'll say that. No,
yeah, I mean,
but the point I'm making is that now it's like we were raised with these traditional ways, and then but then there was like a little bit of, I'll just say, the masculinity. A little bit of that, the independent thing and all that was thrown in the mix. Mm-hmm. But now we're at a place where we are trying to figure out, how do we rectify or reconcile this information? Like, what are we supposed to do with it? Like, how do we be these traditional women that we were told that we need to be? The older women or the elders in our family and communities always said, make sure he holds the door open, make sure he pulls out your chair, make sure he takes care of you. And the ones that did have a husband or whatever that they really liked, or that was good to them, you need to get someone like such and such. He did this for me, he did that for me. So they are indoctrinating little girls in the 70s and into the 80s. They have been indoctrinating all the little girls with these messages of what we are supposed to receive from men and what we are supposed to be for a man and what a man is supposed to represent in society. But this whole thing with this feminist stuff is so new. I mean, on the level that it's on today, is so new, because the 80s was I would say the first round of I'm getting my own money. The 90s, they took it up a little bit, like I could do just like what a man can do. And then getting into the 2000s, it's just been going full throttle. So now women are just trying to reconcile the information. But this is the reason why I said the change is happening. We can't be a part of it, because it's hard to rewire your brain and become a whole nother person when that's like a belief system.
Well, I would say this: people change when the fastest people change is when there's fear. Or sometimes they can stay the same, but it's a realization of fear. It's like, oh, there's actually a copperhead snake in my bedroom. Then I'm getting out of the bedroom. Once you realize that fear. So the thing that could be happening for a lot of women is the recognition of what is to come. Because one of the things that I've noticed, and just watching Kevin Samuel's show, one of the things that I noticed is you continually see women come on with their plan for the future is vague, very vague. And it's like, I have a lot of time to figure this stuff out. And it's like, well, no, as a woman, you have a shorter period of time than a man does. But if you've been coming up with the thought process like a man, then it's like, oh, well, I can delay having a baby. I can delay, this. I can focus on my career. I can be all these things like a man is. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you're going to go through life without a mate, specifically a man, then you're going to be missing out, not just on the family type stuff, but on a level of protection, on a level of like, there's another income. There is, because I grew up in a household where there's my father, there's my mother, and there's a, high school sweethearts, all this other kind of stuff, blah, blah, blah. Not everything perfect, but, just as close as you could possibly get. But it's still that whole concept of like, whenever she needs to go to the hospital, she needs to get her medication taken care of, blah, blah, blah. There's somebody in the house dedicated to her. What's going to happen for a lot of women is starting to realize it's like, okay, I'm going to hit 50, 60, 70, 80, and there isn't going to be someone dedicated in the house for me. One, two, in terms of children, where these, if your child hasn't been raised properly, in terms of understanding that system also, they're going to be like, oh, well, I got my family, I moved over here, and now my grandma wants me to go over there, but I got to take care of the kids and move. This, what they call the sandwich generation. So it's, to me,
I feel like we part of the sandwich. Yeah. I mean, like people in their 40s.
Yeah. That's definitely part of the sandwich generation. So it's like going forward, for the women who are like serious about this, is like, yeah, all the women who are like, yeah, I can go to college, I can graduate, I can get this degree. It's like, why can't you get a man? You have the planning capabilities for it. It's something that you want, but it's like, in order to go after it, it's like the level of competition. I would say this, when you talk about entitlement, you're talking about being inconsiderate. That's what you're really talking about. It's like expecting someone else to pay for you to go out on a date. That's being inconsiderate, because you don't know what this person's pockets are anyway. So you don't make a good mate to this person to begin with. That's why I always tell women, when you go on dates, go Dutch. If he strongly offers to pay, fine. But just recognize that, unless his pockets are like that, that's not going to be a continual thing where it's just like, he may, oh yeah, I'm a man, I'm gonna do this, I'm a man, I'm gonna do that. And he hasn't thought all the way through, when it's like, a good 2 months into this is like, damn, I'm down like $600. So,
Well, maybe that's like, I mean, I would say that that would be a conversation that needs to be had before the date, especially if there's this, especially if they start talking. I think that men have to really, it's really, to me, it's kind of incumbent on the man to ask certain questions when it relates to his pockets. And this is what I mean by that. Women ask questions that they're interested in. A woman will ask a man, for instance, he will say, do you see yourself having a family? Do you see yourself having a family within a couple of years? I'm not saying men don't ask this too, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, a woman may ask, oh, do you want to have children? She's asking questions about things she's interested in. That is incumbent on her to do, because she is the one that is going to be responsible for what happens if she continues on in a relationship or whatever they got going on. And then she finds out down the line that I ain't ever wanted kids and I don't want to get married. That's why I'm saying it's incumbent on the man. Like, you can't take responsibility away from men and women both. Like,
well, I mean, what you have to be aware of what you're asking. I mean, the situation is wrong. Coming in the door, the situation is wrong. Society said it's okay for women to be inconsiderate and do this on a date. But now you're saying for the man to say, hey, this is what you're basically asking us to ask. How much money do I have to spend before we have sex?
I mean, I get where you're coming from, why you're saying it. But what I'm saying is the man has to find a way, a crafty way or something to ask the question that he's interested in. Because at the end of the day, if you want to go on the date with this woman, just like she wants to go on the date with you, I think that it's always a terrible idea for people to go on dates and just be having a bunch of stuff swirling in their head. I mean, certain things are going to be swirling around your head because it's brand new and it's fresh. But to be having like this kind of feeling like, I hope she don't think this and I hope she, just ask before you even go out so that you can.
I want you to do that. I want you to do that. Ask, please give the men out here in the world how you would say to a person that you've just met, maybe on the second date, like, hey, your goal is to find out really how long do you think it will be? Are you interested in having sex with me?
No, see, that's why I said crafty. I'm saying you have to find a way to sort
of. That's what I'm saying. What's the crafty way?
Conversation. So, okay, I'm just gonna off the top of my head something. And this is not something that has to be an absolute. Let's just say you're having regular just dialogue. You're talking about life. She's asking you, what do you see yourself, in 5 years, 2 years, whatever it is, you want a family? Yeah, then you might even slip in a question like, yeah, I would like to have a family, have a nice house, maybe like oh yeah, I saw this house one time, it was like, I'm not saying that, like I said, this is not me saying that a guy has to use this, but this is what I'm talking about, the point I'm making. Maybe he'll say something like, yeah, I saw this house one time, it's like, 300,000, or, I mean, not that he would say all of that per se, but just bringing up something in a way where he's bringing up the financial piece, introducing it into the conversation, just to check the temperature and see how she feels. Okay, I got you. I got you on thing. Okay. Right?
I'm waiting.
So this was funny because a friend of mine was telling me a story. She was telling me she was talking to this guy that she had met. She was like, the guy's attractive, he's got these different things that make him interesting. He just seemed like he was a great guy, just in terms of just general conversation and looks, right? But then she said that she started to tell him some of the things that she wants out of life or whatever, just in the coming future, like near future, whatever. And she was telling him things that she's interested in doing, right? So the guy responds, like, one of the things she mentioned was, I love to travel. I went here, I've gone there, and these are some places I want to go. So the guy's like, wow, you've been to this place and to that place? Oh, man, I would never be able to do anything like that. That right there was a very good way. And I'm not saying that he was the one that was checking the temperature on her, because I wasn't talking to him. But I still feel like, as a man, if I were to try to check the temperature with the woman and see what does she think, I might throw something out there like that. I thought that might be a good way to try to see. Now, of course, that turned her off. And I understand why it turned her off, because she's like, these are things that I value. And there's nothing wrong with her valuing those things and wanting that out of
Those, but that example is about future stuff. Oh, the house. Oh, traveling. Future money. We're talking about tonight. So tonight we're out at a restaurant. This is going to be $100. The last time it was roughly $100. The next time.
But I'm saying before you get to that place.
Even okay. Before you get to how do you? Well, once again, everything you said was financial and in the future. I'm saying, I'm trying to figure out whether or not you're here for free food or if you're interested in me to have sex. How do you have that conversation without turning somebody off?
Because maybe I'm only available at a specific time, like let's say in the afternoon or sometime, and I say let's meet at a coffee shop or something. I don't know, or I might come up with something a little bit more creative, like maybe we can go to the museum, and next to the museum there's some little dive, and I know that the food, because I've been there before, I know that the food is like $8. I mean, you should be able to at least spare $8, I would think. But even if you can't spare $8, then you can still suggest it, because maybe you will both just split an $8 bill.
Well, I mean, once again, we're talking about the money. We haven't talked about the sex part. Yeah, we're talking about the sex part, because it's like, otherwise it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I can. If I'm going out on a date, I can afford to go to a nice restaurant. If I'm spending money on another adult human, it just doubled my cost.
So then what is your real goal here?
My real goal is to find out when we're going to have sex.
So you just basically want to know, okay, I like you, you like me, we both, we attracted to each other. I mean, then you asking the impossible. You need to just go to a brothel.
No. What needs to happen is everybody needs to get off of this. Women, if you're going out on,
woman is going to just tell you
exactly.
Oh, I think that in let me see, in 2 weeks and 3 days.
Exactly. So that's the reason why in today's society, women should be paying for dates when you go out. It's like, hey, in order for that to be off of the table, because you're both there for the exact same thing, to figure out relationships, what's in relationships, sex. So if I'm paying and you can pay at the same time for these dates, that's the issue.
I didn't say you don't have the right to say that. That's the reason why I said have the conversation. But
what even what you've proven is that having that conversation is extremely difficult. Having that conversation
about sex, yes, of course.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's the whole question. Why am I paying for these dates? We both make good money. Why am I paying for the dates and you're not?
I think, you know what, Brian? I think you should just tell them. Just say, listen, I want to have sex. How many dates we got to go on? Now, she could lie to you. She might tell you 2 dates. And after the second day, she like, peace.
Yeah. I mean,
there's really nothing else you can do except take the chance or get yourself a whore.
There is something else we can do. We can stop having this whole situation that doesn't make any sense anymore, where the man is paying for the date. I've heard so many women say, oh, if he can't afford the date, he shouldn't go out. Well, if you can't afford a date, you shouldn't go out.
But there are some women that believe that philosophy. So when you hear a woman who says she doesn't want to go Dutch, automatically X her off the list. It's that simple.
Yeah. I mean, that's happening.
I'm saying you're probably not going to meet that many women. The percentage is going to be small.
It's going to increase. It's going to increase because it's not going to be an option. I mean,
I'm not saying, I know, but we're talking about right now today, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, right now today.
If we're talking about right now today.
Right now today,
you're not going to have those options in the masses. Yes, young women, and the women in the future are going to be exactly what you're talking about, because there are young women now that they will tell a man, I just want to have sex. They will straight up meet the guy. But those women are also women that have the characteristics that you don't like. So you have to decide what kind of woman you want, because let's be real here. For the age that you're at and the type of things that you have witnessed and what you know that you want in life, you and a young girl, y'all, they are super man. You talking about masculine? They are men. They're straight up men, but they will have sex with you quickly. But if you're talking about a woman that has all these values and all the things that you're used to, that woman is also attached to the belief system of a man opens the door, pulls out the chair. So it's not going to be this cut and dry thing. You may find one or two that may have adopted a new way of thinking when it comes to money. But I'm going to tell you something about that. And I have heard this and I have seen this happen so many times, even with our other guy friends. They think that, oh yeah, if I get with this girl and she's spending money on me, even if they're like, let's say that they're relatively same age, so they have a lot in common. Okay, we're cool. We getting along great. She's spending money. She got it. But guess what? All women end up getting tired of that. They may be okay with it in the beginning, but they will get tired of taking care of the man or doing things for the man. But if the woman continues to do it, if she's not, I know women that actually would prefer, well, I can't say I know, but I've heard women say this, like just in conversation, casual conversation. I've heard women say they prefer to pay. They prefer to take care of the man. But you know what those type of women are? Those are women that want to control the man.
Controller. Yeah.
So there is nothing cut and dry about this.
Yeah, I mean, here's. Yeah, I mean,
then the new people come forward.
Yeah, I mean, well, the issue though is that there's still a lot of both sides, and so for obviously there's a lot of young people and still a lot of older people who want to connect, who want to go on dates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What I'm saying is that even for the younger people, it's like, well, yeah, you got to meet right now, the way the world has turned out. That whole thing was first wave feminism is equal rights. Second wave feminism was be equal. Third wave feminism is we are men. So we're now in that third wave, and so it's like, okay, if two dudes are hanging out, then both of them are paying. It's not one is going like, oh, well, you have a Audi, I have an Innie, you pay. That no, we're now at that point where it's like, ladies, if you're trying to connect with a person, you have to take the money out of the situation. That's the truth.
It's very logical, and I understand it, and I get what you're saying 100% from a logical perspective. But you have to also understand, women are women. Most women are now operating on logic in society, and I get that.
And they're getting left.
I get that too, but women are not going to be able to turn into something completely different than what they were indoctrinated with overnight. That's a process that has to get sort of tweaked over time. So a woman may give here, give there. And when I say give, I mean she may kind of cross this thing off the list, cross that thing off the list, but she can't turn into a whole nother person. That would be like somebody expecting for you to turn into a woman overnight. You can't do it. If you really wanted to truly become feminine, like you was all the way on the girl, like
there isn't an incentive for me to do that. There isn't. But there is an incentive for women to change because it's not working. It doesn't matter
if it's an incentive. You cannot change a belief system.
Oh yeah, you can.
No, let's just say Christianity is a belief system. If you ask a Christian person a question that, let's say in the 21st century, you're not Christian. If you ask a Christian person,
I'd say hello to the devil right quick. Hello, sorry about that. She's just talking. Yeah, go ahead.
In the 21st century, you ask a Christian person, dang man, you done got me all off now. Like I asked you to say Christian, and it was just like black.
Beast.
Like you're like.
Exactly.
Anyway, if you ask somebody who's Christian to consider a different faith, right? Let's say the incentive is for her to get with a man, and you tell her to consider a different faith. Now, in some cases, if the man is that good, she may try to get on his team or be a part of his team, but she won't be able to leave her old ways behind. That is a process that will have to slowly unfold. It doesn't matter that she likes this guy. It will have to slowly unfold over time. A little thing here, a little thing there. Or she might just say, we're different faiths. I can't do that at all because in my mind, that's going totally against everything I stand for.
Wait, let's because we do need to wrap this up. But I mean, I would say this.
Safe sex.
Hmm. I would say this. Um, I get what you're saying about in terms of like it changing, but there are a lot of women who are who are getting this message now and realizing that they have to change because once again, it's not working. I think that's the most important thing.
All
Is
women are getting the message. Trust
hmm?
me.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
women are hearing the message. It's just changing. That is the
yeah.
problem.
Oh yeah, and like I said, the changing part. Once something scares you enough, it'll escalate the change. And a lot of women are at that point where it's like they haven't thought about it. They're in that beyond the danger zone, whatever you want to call that. And it's like, well, okay,
No.
hmm, you need it. You are now here, and the rules of engagement have changed. You're either going to change, or you're going to stick with your rights, and you're going to be left. So, hey.
I mean, there you have it. Another successful, unresolved issue with Uncle BNC. We
There you
sit
go.
here and we talk about this stuff, and then in the end, it's like, so what's the answer?
Oh, like I said, women are going to have to change. That's the answer.
Well, I think that it's one of those things we just gonna see what happens.
Yeah.
But it's not actually. But it's not really the women. I mean, the women ain't gonna have to change because the generation that comes behind me, they're already a completely different woman anyway. You gonna die, I'm gonna die, and all of y'all other old people gonna die, and those young girls, that's gonna be the new world.
Oh yeah,
those young boys, they not gonna care.
Their level of entitlement is off the chart.
But the young boys don't care anymore because they're mostly soft anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, what did y'all think about this? Do y'all have anything else to add? How do you feel about what Brian said, Uncle B? How do you feel about what I said? What do you think is the solution, or do you even know if there's a solution?
Let us know.
Yeah. Or that little cat meme.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you for tuning in. Remember, every Tuesday, 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, subscribe, leave comments, like this video. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Peace to the outs. Later.